do a good morning here.
Oh my God! Captain Kirk! Captain Kirk!
By the way, they'll let anybody host this show. I'm Alan Hahn in for Greeny this morning, and look who's here with me, of course. Bart and Hahn back together again. Bart Scott, Jeff Darlington, Natalie dressed as always, and of course, Mike Tannenbaum joining us as well. We've got a lot to get to. Why don't we go camping? Yes?
Let's do it.
Grab your backpacks, and there's the tent already. We got a fire. Right now, a month away from the start of the season, only 3 days away from the Hall of Fame game. We're excited. So, we go camping, and we begin with Giants camp. Watch this, guys. Look at this deep ball from Russell Wilson to Malik Neighbors. How do we like this? What can Neighbors be in this offense, which was 28th in passing last season, Bart Scott?
Well, I tell you what, in the words of Bruce Lee, boards don't hit back. I mean, he's throwing against no pressure. We'll see if that offensive line holds up. But it's all about, can Slayton on the other side really give them a balance where you can't roll the coverage to Neighbors. Neighbors is by far dynamic. I think he's top 10 in this league already, and he can take the next step. But it's going to be based on can they run the ball, and can they also protect Russell Wilson, who struggled against pressure last year.
But the one thing Russell Wilson does well, and Hembo gave me a great stat part, is he could throw the deep ball. He led the NFL last year towards the end of his career. 90% of completion above expectation, meaning he's still getting the ball down the field accurately. So if I'm the Giants, one thing we can do, Neighbors can run, Russell Wilson can throw the deep ball. That's encouraging.
All right, well, let's stay in the NFC East division rival, the Commanders. Jeff Darlington, what can you tell us the latest on Terry McLaurin? At least he's there.
We've got the hold-in going on now, avoiding the $50,000 a day fine. That's kind of cool. I get that reason.
You hear that, Trey?
I understand that.
But that being said, he is on the PUP, physically unable to perform list, which, by the way, would allow him, if they were to get a deal done, to be on the active roster and at practice immediately. So that's a good sign. The bad sign, it really doesn't mean much for the negotiations. We're still talking about a situation where you've got Washington saying, look, you're going to be 30 years old in September. You've got McLaurin saying, yeah, but I came out with DK Metcalf, haven't had an injury history, pay me like him. We're at the standoff. We'll see if it gets fixed.
We're seeing wide receivers making tons of money these days with the new extensions. But, Bart, what does the absence, though, mean, especially for Jaden Daniels starting his second season?
Well, I think in the short term, I think it's good because I think he gets to work on chemistry with Deebo Samuels because he becomes the center of attention. And I think that's important for them to get those reps, to get those where I like the ball. What do I see, seeing what you see. But if you hold out too long without Scary Terry, my concern with receivers, especially one approaching 30, is those soft tissue injuries when you come back, which can hamper him for the whole season, which will put, the Commanders' Super Bowl hopes, I think, in danger.
Mike?
Since 2019, guys, Terry McLaurin has led the NFL in contesting catches. That means he has a big radius. When you have a young quarterback, Jaden Daniels, look at this graphic, guys. That is really important for the development of a young quarterback. So, look, Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, they are great problem solvers. Hopefully this gets done. When you add Deebo Samuel to everything else they have here, they're going to be hard to beat, assuming they're all there.
They're definitely loaded up. All right, we stay in the NFC East again because, come on, we got to talk Dallas Cowboys, right? Dak and his new wide receiver, George Pickens, speaking of wide receivers, they were getting some reps in. All right, what do you think of this duo, the potential?
I think it can potentially be one of the best duels in football. You talk about the ability for him to take coverage off CeeDee Lamb. Ferguson just got paid, so he's happy. I think this could probably be one of Dak's best seasons, hoping that they can get some productivity from running the football, but it's going to be hard, to really stack the box when they have these weapons on the outside.
Well, there's a lot of stories going on with the Cowboys, as we know. The big story, of course, around the Cowboys is Micah Parsons' contract situation. When Jerry Jones addressed the fans at camp this weekend, he was met with some "Pay Micah" chants from the crowd.
Now down to business. Down to business. I was shocked last year when we ended up with the record that we had. I never saw that coming. A lot of changes out here, a lot of coaching changes, a lot of player changes. They're going to be Dallas Cowboys of the year 2025.
Is he running for president?
I just want to make sure we're in the right century.
What is happening there?
19-something, 25-something. All right, but also, look at what Stephen Jones had to say here about the fans chanting about Micah Parsons. He said it doesn't change anything. We want to pay Micah too. He's got to want to be paid too. What does that mean, Jeff?
He wants to be paid, I'm pretty sure.
I would hope so.
I think he's got that part figured out. Look, we're still not at a point where we feel like there's any progress. Like, we're still at the same spot when it comes to Micah and the Cowboys. The thing that is, I guess, most perplexing about that is that when you say that you're in the same spot, the problem is that gap actually continues to widen because other guys get paid. We see TJ Watt get paid. Suddenly, that moves the needle significantly, by the way. So, for whatever reason, as good as Jerry Jones has been at negotiating in every aspect of his life, he continues to not understand the idea of the negotiation in the NFL. It honestly is perplexing, the fact that if you get the deal done early, Mike T, I mean, you know this as well as anybody, you get it done early, you don't pay as much.
Yeah, and Jeff, earlier you alluded to Terry McLaurin, he's going to be 30, and yeah, there's probably good arguments on both sides. This is a no-brainer.
Right.
A young pass rusher. And if we went and did last year, if the four of us were running the Cowboys, look at this graphic, right? Look how much it's gone up. And all the underpinnings of the NFL, Jeff, to your point, are going up. The cap's not going down. So at a minimum, we're looking at $6.5 million a year. When you draft and hit on a young, productive, durable pass rusher, pay him right away. And when you're in an arms race with Philadelphia and now Washington, and they're getting players signed proactively, and you're not, you're paying premium deals, and that's why guys like DeMarcus Lawrence and Jordan Lewis, amongst others, graduate because you can't afford them because CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are getting massive premiums.
I mean, and when you talk about it, you look at Micah Parsons. I look up; he's the 34th highest paid defensive end. We know that that's laughable right there. You know, he's a threat every year to be Defensive Player of the Year. But also, you talk about his versatility, right? He's able to rush and be an effective pass rusher from the outside. But if you need him, he can arguably be a top 5 middle linebacker as well. So you talk about scheme versatility, being able to affect games no matter what the opponent is. If the opponent has a great running back, you can put him at middle linebacker and he can shadow and run with the best of them. If you need a pass rush and need somebody to get to the passer because you're fortunate enough to have a guy that can come in during that sub package, he can drop back or drop down and be the defensive end. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for my ability to be able to be multiple, play multiple roles within your defense. And I don't understand why the Dallas Cowboys keep doing this to themselves, paying overpriced for players, because like you said, it's not sustainable when you have to build out your roster.
And that's the thing. Like, I got like my 10-year-old son and his friends. They'll be like, hey, why do we pay this guy this? I'm like, is it your money? Like, you don't need to care about what a team pays a player, right? That has nothing to do with anything. But when it comes to these continuous deals that Jerry Jones is doing, where they're top of market deals because of when they pay him, that impacts your depth on the roster.
Correct.
Like, yes, the salary cap can be easily manipulated in the NFL, but at some point when you're so top heavy, that impacts you midway through the season when you're like, well, we just lost our starting guard. What do we do now?
Right.
And that's what, to me, is the problem here. It's very nuanced, and it's the reason they need to pay these guys sooner.
Adam Schefter made a great point last week. We were talking about a very similar topic. And when you just look at some of the deals from CeeDee Lamb and, again, Dak Prescott, if they had saved $9 million, that's what Derrick Henry got from the Baltimore Ravens. And you think about where would Dallas have been last year? Look, is Derrick Henry outcome determinative? We'll never know. But boy, that team would have been a lot better with him than without him.
Is there anything in this from the Parsons side of it which says, well, Trey Hendrickson hasn't been paid yet. I want to be the highest paid guy. I'm waiting for that number because we know each guy that signs it escalates and maybe he wants to be the highest.
Listen, Trey wasn't a first-round draft pick, and I feel like you carry that scarlet letter. So he'll never be a guy that's going to be the highest paid at anything. That's why Myles Garrett and that's why TJ Watt continues to get paid the top of the market. So Trey Henderson, it doesn't affect Michael Parsons. Michael Parsons affects Trey Henderson because he just makes the averages of what you have to pay him for. Michael Parsons is in his prime, getting his second contract. We're talking about guys that are on their third contract. That is a totally different conversation because arguably Parsons hasn't even hit his prime yet.
Well, we got a lot more to get to on the Cowboys, but speaking of the Cowboys, Jeff Darlington, let's run the hurry up, shall we? And at least one Cowboy got paid.
Yeah, who is it? Who got paid here? Where are we at? Jake Ferguson did get paid, and that's what's so funny about this. Like, you see an opportunity here where they decide, hey, we're going to get this deal done. 4-year extension through 2029. Now, this is the kind of deal we're talking about. This is a smart move for a team that now has him where they need him. So the Cowboys are paying people. They're just not paying their superstars, apparently. Trey Hendrickson, a situation with him that is ongoing as well. We know that Hendrickson has been unhappy about this situation.
Report,
we know
Trey.
that he said, you know what, I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go hang out there a little while, let everybody figure out what they want to pay me. The Bengals continue to be optimistic. I think we have to remember, as an organization, we're thinking of them as the team that pays T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, not the team that for decades before that refused to pay everyone. Now, Matt Stafford, this is one where you can't decide whether you feel like this is a problem or not, because we're dealing with a back issue when it comes to Matt Stafford. Back soreness is what the team is calling it. And by all accounts, when I talk to people, not a big deal. We're just being load management here with Matt Stafford. But when you think about his injury history with the neck and the back, you do have to wonder what his durability is going to be this season. Again, from a news perspective, the Rams are saying this is not a big deal. This is a matter of load management. The bigger question is here, how does this affect the future with Matt Stafford at quarterback?
Well, those are questions